Hello and welcome to the Research Talks podcast with Alan Green. Now, Alan, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks, Mark. Back, it's Friday again. Where does the time go? But there we go.
Where does the time go? I know this week's gone quick, and I know we had last week we did a COVID special research podcast, and actually it was very well received. You know, people seemed to like that. It was very topical, and then looks like we were we were trumped on Monday because we were going to do COVID stock 2, weren't we? This Friday, but
We were.
Pfizer then announced they'd got a vaccine. So yeah, that put some interesting start to the week anyway.
Well, it was astonishing. I mean, literally every stock we spoke about, Novocyte, Avacta, Destiny Pharma, of course, all of those stocks, for various reasons, fell off a cliff. But But Novocyte, I noted on Thursday that the chief exec, two directors have bought shares in the company at around £6 or £7, but the chief exec, Graham Mullis, waded in £500,000 of his own money and bought £500,000 worth of shares in the open market at about, I think it was just over £8.
Oh, well, that's significant, isn't it?
So that, you know, that's a massive statement of confidence if ever wasn't. So, and of course, Avacta, you know, the antigen saliva test. In fact, somebody pointed out that I'd said that the results would be back in 2 hours, and no, in fact, it's 3 minutes. So I'd just like to apologise to whoever I said that to the statement I made, because the antigen test is very quick. It is 3 minutes, as the person rightfully pointed out, and let's not forget, we now have the vaccine, which is fantastic, and it's great news for humanity. On a macro level, but of course, we still have the logistical issue of getting back to normal, and that involves people traveling again, pubs opening again, restaurants opening again, sporting events, getting back to football matches, travel, all of that, and that's where the range of COVID testing, PPE, apps to support to record a person's status, all of those are going to be essential and crucial as we go forward. And let's not forget, this disgusting virus is mutating already, and it will continue to do so. So this is not going to be over next year by any stretch of the imagination. What it will mean is next year we can probably start to get back to normal, and the vaccines, the vaccine will obviously be available in this country before Christmas. So that's great news. But you know, this is a long drawn out process. Make no mistake. So all the companies that are engaged, the companies we spoke about last week, will all have key roles to play in that. But don't forget, as we said last week, Mark, these companies, the COVID element to their offering has helped to further drive and fund their core offerings as well. So that's key, and I think people need to understand that. And of course, Destiny Pharma, as we were saying, got a placing away and raised some more money to support their phase 3 trials and take them into next year, which is very exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And Destiny is definitely not a one-trick pony, is it? That's not. It had a COVID element to it, but really the focus is the XF74, wasn't it? The MRSA sort of
the MRSA, absolutely, but also Sporgene and Destiny are working on on using the innate human immune system to develop immunity from COVID further down the road. So that could be just as exciting in its own way when we get there. But the near-term focus is something else altogether, which of course is MRSA, something that everyone's aware of, and the more people that go into hospital, of course, the more prone or the greater the risk that patients will catch MRSA, maybe as a result of an operation or something. So this is going to be key to safety in the hospital going forward.
Yeah, and of course, COVID-19 that we know today is a coronavirus, isn't it? I mean, you know, and there's many of them around. The flu is a coronavirus. The cold is. I'm not saying they're going to find a cure for the common cold, but you know, these coronaviruses are going to be around, well, forever, really. They're always going to be there, and we're going to have new strains coming out. So
That's the thing, just as every year, you might go and have your flu jab. I mean, I've had my flu jab this year. You'll go and have your pneumonia jab. You'll probably have a COVID jab every year as well. So, the reality is it's here to stay. So it's just a question of, as I say, it's a question of logistics. How all of the solutions that have currently been developed will fit into getting us back to normal life as we go forward.
Yeah, great. So we decided we won't do COVID Part 2 this week. We'll tackle that next week. Give the market a chance to settle down on the COVID stocks. So I believe today we're going to be talking about Kavango Resources, and also Bidstack as well.
Yes, that's right. Two completely different companies.
Yeah, exploration and technology.
Exploration and technology, but variety is the spice of life. But I think both companies are at very exciting junctures in terms of their development. So, first of all, Mark, I'll discuss Kavango Resources. Kavango, of course, KAV is the EPIC code. The company has a market capitalization of some 5.5 million presently. Shares are traded as high as 3.75p and as low as 0.50, currently at 2.89 pence. And certainly it's been an interesting few months. Since July, we've just seen a steady rise and increase in the share price, which is very encouraging, but certainly fully backed up by the developments in the group. Mm-hmm. So three primary projects. First of all, this is really the biggie. This is the Kalahari Suture zone. So Kavango are basically engaged in projects in Botswana. Of course, Botswana is just north of South Africa. And there are three projects and there are a number of joint ventures, which I will discuss as well. So the company was set up in 2018 with a standard listing. And the chief executive is, of course, Michael Foster, who's well known throughout the industry, well regarded. Formerly have worked with De Beers, Reunion Mining, Copperbelt, and Zincox, and others. Also on the board is a guy called the chief ops officer, Mike Moles, also Delta Gold, Reunion Mining, and Lonmin, and also was also co-founder of the company, and the man on the ground in Botswana, Hilary Gumbo, the project manager, who's also co-founder of Kavango as well. So, as I said, three primary projects that the company are involved in, and the first one, the Kalahari Suture Zone, known as the KSZ, is in the southwest of Botswana. It's along the western edge of the Cartwell Craton, on the border of South Africa. And this is a huge geological structure that covers getting on for 8,500 square kilometers and involves 12 prospecting licenses. And this is the prospect has been likened to the Norilsk mine in Siberia, which produces 90% of nickel in Russia, 55% copper, and all of the platinum group metals for Russia. And indeed, it produces 20% of the world's nickel. So this is just a vast mine that's been operating for many years. And so there are the company said quite some time ago that there were geological similarities. When the Earth's crust was formed years ago, the magma formation and the formation process more or less mirrored what had taken place in the Norilsk mine. But of course, it's all very well looking at those early images. You have to go through an exhaustive process to get that resource to a point where you can identify drill targets, and then of course start the drilling, and all being well, everything matches up. So the company engaged Mora Geoscience to help with the process, undertook electromagnetic surveys, and indeed the company throughout September and October have noted the works that have been undertaken by a number of consulting geologists. Dr. Martin Prendergast confirmed that the KSZ shared many characteristics with Norilsk. Cumulate rocks of presence, the sulfide liquid fractionation, he suggested that as much as 50% of the nickel and possibly all of the copper precipitated as metal sulfides within the geological feature, and this is across thousands of cubic kilometers. So, I mean, this is potentially a vast find. So we had a further report at the end of October from Dr. David Holwell, who's the associate professor of geology at the University of Leicester, and he at this stage, of course, the company have detailed 3D models of KSZ, which confirmed the findings of Dr. Martin Prendergast, and indeed Michael Foster said back at the end of September that the imagery generated from the 3D modeling is quite spectacular, and it was a major step forward. Again, confirmed by Dr. David Holwell at the end of October. Strong evidence of metal sulfides at the KSZ, compelling evidence that KSZ underwent similar geological evolutionary progress to Norilsk, but also other mines which are in production as well. The Voisey Bay in Canada, the Thompson Nickel Belt in Canada, the Raglan Belt in Canada, and also the Jinshuan Belt in China. So these are all mines, operating mines, sitting above geological anomalies which were formed in the same way as the KSZ. So at this point, the company Kavango are in the process of identifying the next steps, and we will move to a point where drill targets will be identified early in 2021. Of course, progress has been hampered by COVID this year, as we know, but this potentially for Kavango could be earth-changing, literally, because the Norilsk mine is vast. It's producing nickel all the time. It's constantly in production, and this nickel is going to be a key component for industry and has numerous applications. So we're at a very exciting juncture on the KSZ alone, but of course, Kavango isn't a one-trick pony, as we know. We then have the Kalahari Copper Belt project, and this is in western Botswana, and it's the Kalahari Copper Belt is part of a mineral belt that exists on the Ganzi Ridge, but is close to the surface. And we hear a lot about mining prospects where the minerals are close to surface, and of course that means low mining costs, easy to extract, and so on. Initially, a joint venture was formed on 2 licenses with LVR Geology, and the terms of the licenses and the earn-in were based on a minimum spend by Kavango Resources into those licenses. But the company have also announced at the end of September they'd formed a joint venture with Power Metal Resource, and of course I've spoken on several occasions on the podcast here about Power Metal Resources and Paul Johnson's energy and the different projects they're involved in. So the agreement they came to with the Kalahari Copper Belt was that Power Metal would invest £75,000 cash and $10,000 cash to cover setting up the joint venture company, and also a number of warrants and shares were issued to Kavango as well. The warrants, in fact, are exercisable at 5p when Power Metal Resources hits 5p. So Power Metal and Kavango have a joint venture to attack the Kalahari Copper Belt. And again, Also, the same day, the company announced that as a result of that deal with Power Metal, it was to restart soil sampling across the joint venture licenses with Power Metal, and also the joint venture licenses with the LVR Geo Explorers, to identify drill targets by the year end. So there we have two projects: the Kalahari Copper Belt and the Kalahari Suture Zone. Which are stacking up to be huge projects and game-changing projects for Kavango in 2021. The final piece of the jigsaw is the Ditau Camp project, which is sited in southern Botswana, covers 7.5. Covers 7.5 kilometer blocks, and again, massive sulfide and base metal deposits, including iron and copper. But these were identified back in as far back as the 70s by a company called Falconbridge Mining, when magnetic ring structures were identified, some 10 magnetic ring structures, which are prospective for carbonates, the type of carbonates that typically include rare earth metals such as neodymium and praseodymium and others. And again, going back to the developments there, Michael Foster said back in September that the evidence is that Ditau is very much at the center of a previously unrecognized alkali magnetic complex. So this again could be significant, but equally, this is where Paul Johnson comes in again with Power Metal Resources. The joint venture with Power Metal was firstly on the 2 Kalahari Copperbelt licenses, and secondly on the two licenses at the Ditau rare earths. Rare earth project. So the money and the investments from the joint venture will be split and spread between the two. So Kavango effectively has this portfolio of nickel, copper, and rare earths, and of course there are a number of other metals that will be found when the drilling progresses. But to really, I think, underscore the progress the company made, it announced early this week an oversubscribed placing where the company raised £2 million, which basically funds the company through the process of getting the drill target sorted and getting the drill tips into the ground, and from that, of course, we'll have assays that can then be sent to laboratories. The metal can then be confirmed, and I think at that point we'll probably see, given that Kavango only has a $5.5 billion market cap, I think we'll see a significant, in inverted commas, re-rating.
Yeah, I think it's a good point for Kavango. 5 million market cap, and yeah, like you say, they raised 2 million this week. I did have a chat with Mike Moles on an interview, which people can find on the Stockbox Twitter channel. Where they've raised that money and they're going to do they call a large loop electromagnetic survey, which I think allows them to identify some real high priority targets for what they say is a major drilling campaign in 2021. And I think some of the funds as well will be used for the KCB, the Kalahari Copper Belt project as well. So a really good point, I think, for that company. And Mike Moles, the non-exec director, is very good at explaining exactly what they think they have there and how they explore. So he's good to talk to, good to listen to, if anyone wants to get a sort of a more technical picture of what's going on. But yeah, I think a very good entry point, sort of right now, really. And next year is looking good for them.
It is, and I think this is the thing with investing in junior mining companies and small cap mining companies like Kavango. It is about timing. But if you look at what the board have done, look at the progress they've made, and it's been, everything's been hampered by COVID this year. But they've got to a juncture now where they've easily raised that money. In fact, the placing was oversubscribed, and the KSZ, I mean, Kalahari, the Kalahari Copper Belt project's equally exciting, and obviously, Power Metal are involved with both that and Ditto. But the KSZ as a standalone, it could be huge. It could be absolutely huge. And if they identify the targets, drill, and the metals are confirmed in good quantity and in good quality, then yeah, sky's the limit.
Exactly. Okay. Good. Well, thank you, Alan, for that bit on Kavango there. Now, I've been watching a lot of Monty Python recently, and this is the perfect opportunity to say, and now for something completely different, as we move on to Bidstack and tech.
Indeed. Well, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition, of course. So, yeah, we are literally going something that's probably diametrically opposed to Kavango, but this is a technology company. But I think for reference points, we spoke about Myriad recently as well, and of course, Myriad have the advertising technology to place products into live TV programs. So Bidstack, the underlying principle is similar, only that Bidstack have developed a cross-platform in-game native advertising network. Now, just to give some context to the marketplace, now my son plays games. All his friends play games, and as I found out more about it, I'm astonished to realize, I was astonished to find out that a lot of these guys will watch other people playing games, so they can get all the moves and all the cheats and these gamers themselves generate huge amounts of advertising. Well, significant amounts of advertising revenue from their channels because they have thousands and hundreds of thousands of people watching them play a game at any one time, which I find quite baffling. But
I find it equally baffling, Alan. I remember there was a young lady who came to do some work experience at the company I used to work for, and we were trying to get her engaged in doing the work we were doing, and she would just sit and watch people play games. I'm just like, that is bizarre. You're not even playing a game. You're just watching someone play a game. But it's huge. It's a huge thing.
It's incredible. Well, I've got some numbers here. So the global marketplace for gaming is currently 151 billion, and it's growing some 10% per annum. But they reckon that with COVID and with the acceleration into mobile gaming, it'll be worth some 256 billion by 2025. Wow. In August 2020, there were 3 billion gamers worldwide. So what Bidstack have developed, they've developed a platform-agnostic system that serves advertising to platforms. So just as with Myriad's offering, if you watch a TV series, a streaming TV series, and I watch it, you might see 2 cans of Coke on the table. I might see 2 cans of Pepsi. So that's essentially how it works. And Bidstack is exactly the same. So it will it will profile the gamer, and the gaming platform that's being used will send information back to the advertiser to tell them what they want to see. But of course, this is completely new. So previously, if you had a game, you'd see, let's say you were playing FIFA or something, or a football game. I think they call, I don't know.
Yeah, FIFA. That's right. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah. So you'd see the hoardings around the side of the pitch, and of course, you'd have the same ads. So you play the same game in 10 years and you'd have 10-year-old ads. Yeah. So, of course, Bidstack occupies those spaces and is serving live ads. Wow. So there's no need to wait for the next updated title. It's seamless. It just goes through. But, of course, they've created a brand new advertising serving system into a gaming environment. So it's undergone a long drawn out testing process, but they had first mover advantage. So just tell you a bit about the board now. James Draper is the CEO, and he's it's his baby in many ways, along with Francesco Petrozelli, who's the CTO and co-founder. And James currently owns just over 10% of shares in Bidstack, so he's obviously a major shareholder, which is always good. I think when a CEO is that engaged. But he initially started the ball rolling with Sega, football manager title, and since then they've undergone numerous case studies with MG, the MG cars, Unilever, Random House, Audi, Volkswagen, BBC, Shell, Subway, Vodafone, Warner Brothers, and so on. So it's been tested by the top brands in the business. They have joint ventures with Dentsu, and Dentsu is an advertising giant that's got access to an annual spend of some 54 billion from 60 different markets. They've got a joint venture with Codemasters, and that's with Xbox and PlayStation, and Ubisoft. They've got an agreement with their Hyperscape platform. And they also have agreements with EA Sport as well. And EA Sport obviously is a massive games manufacturer. Even I know that name, so I know how big they are. But this is they've taken their time. They've undergone exhaustive testing processes, so the different advertising networks can test out and work out the monetization process, the reporting process, and so on. And then they've gone out there and had some independent research undertaken. And Lumen researched. They put out an RNS early this year, Bidstack, that Lumen Research said they outperformed traditional channels by 11 times. So that's obviously a very solid endorsement. They also won the IAB Gold Standard Award early this year, and I think a lot of people last year who were this was very big across the retail investor network last year, and the share price on the year was then trading at a year high. I think it hit about 40p a few years ago, and of course here we are now at 5.6p with a market cap of 22 million. But I think they were hoping to generate more revenues from this earlier than they have done. But nonetheless, they're now making significant progress. And in the interims at June, James Draper said that the company was making continued rapid progress, and its customers were now moving beyond the initial test spends into mainstream campaigns. The Gold Standard Award had opened up a bunch of new agencies, but revenues for the year would be very much or very significantly second half weighted, but the company was trading in line with its expectations, which is good to hear. So at the half year, then they generated revenues of 300,000, up from that's 10 times as much as previously, and they had cash of 6 million in the bank. Their broker Stifel put out a note saying they had an initial 8.5p target, but noted there was massive pent-up demand. So once it's gone through the proving process, it gets to tap into this vast gaming network. But I think what's equally impressive, and what has always been one of the key things for me, I will declare interest here. I am a shareholder in Bidstack. We've got a very experienced board. So they early this year they appointed a chap called Derek Wise, who's the former chief tech officer at Grapeshot, which of course is now Oracle, and Derek is still working at Oracle. They got Mike Hayes, who's former Sega, Nintendo, Mercy Tech, and they have an advisory board. Andrew House is a former PlayStation, a boss of PlayStation, ran Sony in Japan. They've got Will Cassoy from Ad Colony, former Ad Colony, and Walt Disney, Activision Blizzard. Brian Nider, who was former EA Games. So obviously that connection has been fruitful for Bidstack. Jonathan Epstein, GameSpot, and Joel Livesey, Trade Desk, and AOL. So this is like a who's who of the gaming industry. A guy called Pete Beanie on the advisory board works with Spotify and WPP. So they have this vast number of routes into this marketplace. And again, we said, Kavango are at an interesting juncture. We're coming to the point where we're going to start to hear trading updates from the second half and get some ideas of just how successful the campaigns that have gone beyond initial test spends, how successful those campaigns are, and then obviously we'll get some forward, some better visibility going forward, and some idea of just how far this can go. But again, I think the price comparison where Bidstack is at the moment. You've got a market cap of 22 million, which is not too far away from where Myriad were trading. Then Myriad, of course, listed in the US on the OTC market, and the market cap immediately leapt up to 75 million. So there are so many different factors that could influence this, but the company also raised 5 million in June at 4.2p. So that put floor under the share price. So I think where we are now offers great value, and there's a real chance if this goes, it's going to be absolutely huge. And the marketplace, the projections for growth in the gaming marketplace are enormous. And I'm personally excited. I'm quite happy to sit with my shareholding, and if it goes, then happy days.
Yeah, 22 million is nothing, is it? In the scheme of things, when you talk about the value in that sector and its expected growth over the years. That's very cheap. I mean, it could go to the moon, couldn't it? Really.
Well, it really could. They're first to market, and they've gone through this exhaustive testing process, which is, where they've worked with the agencies to work out the methodology for reporting, for monetization, and so on. So they've done the hard yard. So now it's about the agencies getting out there and saying to their clients like Coca-Cola, hey, this is your campaign. By the way, we're now adding a whole new dimension to your campaign because you're going to be advertising into this gaming to 3 billion gamers across the world, into this enormous marketplace. I think any company that's looking to get a competitive edge, and also given that we know TV advertising isn't as effective as it once was, there's the advertisers will be looking for new opportunities in markets to ramp up their brand and to get better value elsewhere. And I think Bidstack offers the perfect channel to do that.
Yeah. And those names you mentioned before, how the sort of games developers, I mean, that's significant. They've already got sort of ins and sort of partnerships forming with those guys. And the ad I'm just looking on the website, the ad console. Yeah, that is that's very important. That's a great addition, isn't it? Then campaign managers from some certain from whatever companies want to advertise can actually log in and see, I guess, real time how many eyes their brand is getting in front of and the impact it's having, which adds a lot of value to it.
It adds huge value. It adds huge ROI. And that's the great thing nowadays with these sophisticated technology available in advertising in terms of reporting, real-time reporting. The Bidstack interface basically provides all that information to the advertisers, so they can manage the campaigns themselves, and then it's out there.
It's very exciting because we spoke about Myriad, didn't we? As you mentioned there earlier, it's very innovative. This whole thing, it's incredible, really. It's like cutting edge innovation, really, which is nice to see.
It is cutting edge, and as I say, if you've got hundreds of thousands of people sitting watching somebody play a game,
well, yeah, exactly.
So actually, the reach for Bidstack. So you've got the gamers, number one, that you're reaching with the ads, but of course, people are watching the screen, so they're going to see the ads on the screen as a result of watching the gamer play as well. So that's that offers huge branding potential, doesn't it? If you want to get a brand out there, what a way to do it.
What a way to do it. Yeah, great. Oh, well, that's good. Thank you for bringing that to the fore, Alan. Very interesting.
My pleasure.
So, well, thank you very much again. Should we go for COVID stocks part 2 next week?
COVID stocks part 2. So next week we'll be talking about Synergen, Omega Diagnostics, and Open Orphan.
Open Orphan. Okay, good. Look forward to it. Okay. Well, I wish you a good weekend, Alan, and we'll speak in a week's time.
Thank you, Mark. You too. Speak next week.
Thanks, then. Bye. Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.